Hello everybody, welcome to my channel.
Chuck Berry. The architect of rock and roll, Chuck Berry stands as one of the most influential figures in modern music history, a pioneering guitarist, electrifying performer, and master storyteller whose innovations helped shape the sound, language, and attitude of rock and roll. With his signature guitar riffs, witty lyrics, and charismatic stage presence, Berry didn't just participate in the birth of rock and roll, he helped define it. Early life and musical roots. Born Charles Edward Anderson Berry on October 18, 1926, in St. Louis, Missouri. He grew up in a culturally rich neighborhood that exposed him to a wide range of musical traditions. Gospel music from local churches, blues rhythms from the American South, and the swing styles popular in the 1930s and 1940s all contributed to his early musical palette. Berry showed an interest in music as a teenager, performing at school events and honing the guitar techniques that would later make him famous. Rise to stardom. Berry's career took off in 1955 when he signed with Chess Records and released Maybelline, a fast-paced fusion of country, blues, and rhythm that resonated with both black and white audiences. The song became a massive hit, reaching the top of the R&B charts and crossing into mainstream popularity. This breakthrough marked the beginning of a remarkable run of singles that cemented Berry's status as a groundbreaking artist. Throughout the late 1950s, he delivered a stream of influential songs including Roll Over Beethoven, Rock and Roll Music, Sweet Little 16, and his signature anthem, Johnny B. Good. These tracks featured clever lyrics that captured teenage culture, driving rhythms that encouraged dancing, and guitar solos that would become templates for future generations of rock musicians. A new style of guitar. Chuck Berry revolutionized the role of the electric guitar in popular music. His crisp, ringing tone and distinctive double-stop riffs became instantly recognizable. The opening to Johnny Be Good, for instance, remains one of the most iconic guitar intros ever recorded. Berry's guitar work influenced countless musicians, including the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Beach Boys, Jimi Hendrix, and nearly every major rock guitarist who followed. His style bridged the gap between blues tradition and modern rock, creating a blueprint that defined the genre. Performance and personality. On stage, Berry was a dynamic entertainer. His legendary duck walk, a playful, crouched strut across the stage, became one of rock's most famous moves. His blend of showmanship and technical skill captivated audiences and helped elevate rock performances from simple musical acts to full-blown entertainment spectacles. Challenges and resilience. Despite his success, Berry faced legal and personal challenges throughout his career. Yet even through periods of controversy and imprisonment, his legacy endured. He continued touring well into his later years, often performing with local bands and maintaining a reputation as a fiercely independent figure in the music world. Later years and legacy. Berry's contributions earned him numerous honors, including induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as part of its inaugural class in 1986. The Hall described him as the man who laid the groundwork for not only a rock and roll sound but a rock and roll stance. In 1977, Johnny Be Good was included on the Voyager Golden Record, a collection of sounds and music representing humanity sent into space, proof of Berry's enduring cultural significance. Berry released his final studio album, Chuck, in 2017. Shortly after his passing at the age of 90. Conclusion. Chuck Berry's influence on music is immeasurable. He shaped the identity of rock and roll with his innovative guitar playing, energetic performances, and lyrical storytelling that spoke directly to the spirit of youth. His songs remain timeless, still inspiring musicians and delighting listeners around the world. More than a performer, Barry was an architect, a visionary whose work helped build the foundation of an entire genre. Rock and roll, as we understand it today, simply wouldn't exist without him. Chuck Berry. A deeper look at his life, career, and cultural impact. Musical innovation and songwriting genius. One of Chuck Berry's most enduring contributions to music is his approach to songwriting. At a time when many popular songs focused on love, heartbreak, and traditional storytelling, Berry introduced narratives that captured the essence of youthful freedom, rebellion, and everyday life. His lyrics were often humorous, poetic, and packed with clever wordplay. Songs like School Days painted vivid pictures of teenage experiences, from classroom boredom to the joy of dancing after school, while Too Much Monkey Business showcased his rapid-fire lyrical delivery that would later influence hip-hop artists. Berry had a gift for crafting stories that were relatable, fun, and distinctly modern. Defining the sound of rock and roll, Berry's blend of blues structure, country twang, and boogie-woogie rhythms created a sound that felt both familiar and entirely new. His use of stop-time riffs, rhythmic guitar patterns, and bright, melodic solos formed a musical vocabulary that would later be adopted by nearly every rock guitarist. What set Berry apart was his ability to merge precision with spontaneity. His guitar lines danced effortlessly between melody and rhythm, giving his songs a propulsive energy that became a hallmark of early rock music. Many historians credit Berry with creating the framework for the rock band format: lead guitar, rhythm guitar, bass, and drums. Influence on modern music and musicians. Berry's impact on later generations cannot be overstated. The Beatles covered several of his songs in their early years, with John Lennon famously saying, "If you tried to give rock and roll another name, you might call it Chuck Berry." The Rolling Stones also built much of their early repertoire around Berry's music. Keith Richards cited him as the greatest rock and roll guitarist and considered Berry's tone, riffs, and attitude to be essential to the genre's development. Beyond rock, Berry's influence extended into pop, punk, country, and even rap. His storytelling style, rhythmic phrasing, and bold stage presence provided a foundation that countless artists have drawn from. Cultural significance. Berry's success in the 1950s represented a monumental cultural shift. At a time of segregation and racial tension in America, his music crossed racial boundaries, attracting both black and white audiences. His popularity played a role in bringing integrated audiences together at concerts and on the dance floor. Berry also presented an image of self-confidence and artistic independence. He wrote most of his songs, negotiated his own business deals, and maintained control over his performances. This independence was rare for black musicians of his era and set an example for future artists seeking creative autonomy. Notable albums and songs. Although Berry was primarily a singles-driven artist, several collections of his work have become essential listening. Some of his most important tracks include Johnny B. Good, his most iconic song and a cornerstone of rock music history; Roll Over Beethoven, a rebellious anthem celebrating the power of modern music; Rock and Roll Music, a spirited tribute to the genre he helped shape; Maybelline, the track that launched him into stardom; Sweet Little 16, a lively portrayal of teenage fandom and excitement; Nadine, and You Never Can Tell, later songs that showcased his storytelling finesse. Challenges, controversy, and resilience. Berry's career was not without turbulence. He faced legal issues in the early 1960s that resulted in a prison sentence, as well as later disputes involving business dealings and behavior. Despite these challenges, Berry remained active, recording music, touring consistently, and maintaining a strong following. His complicated personal life never overshadowed his musical brilliance, but it did add layers to his legacy, reminding fans and historians that he was a human figure navigating fame, pressure, and the social climate of his time. Awards, honors, and lasting legacy. Barry's achievements have earned him a place among the most celebrated artists in music history. His honors include induction into the inaugural class of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, 1986, a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Kennedy Center honors the inclusion of Johnny B. Good on the Voyager Golden Record sent into space. Recognition by the Smithsonian and Library of Congress for cultural significance. Even decades after his peak, his songs remain embedded in films, commercials, video games, and live performances worldwide. Final reflections. Chuck Berry's contributions to music are monumental and everlasting. More than a guitarist or singer, he was a cultural trailblazer who shaped how generations understood youth, identity, rebellion, and fun. His energy, creativity, and innovation helped establish rock and roll as a global force. To this day, musicians study his riffs, historians celebrate his influence, and fans still tap their feet to the unmistakable rhythms he created. Berry's music lives on, not only as entertainment but as a foundational pillar of modern music history. Chuck Berry. Continuing the legacy and exploring his broader influence. The evolution of his performance style. Chuck Berry was more than a musician. He was a showman who transformed the concert stage into a platform for excitement, spontaneity, and personality. Before Berry, guitarists often stood still while performing. Berry changed that. His performances featured the duck walk, his signature move, playful interaction with the audience, bending backwards while playing intricate solos, quick footwork, and stage glides, a balance of humor and technical mastery. These innovations helped redefine what a rock concert could be. Berry's stage moves were later imitated by performers like Angus Young of AC/DC, who modeled his on-stage energy directly after Berry. Berry's impact on the guitar as a cultural symbol. Before Berry, the guitar was largely a supporting instrument. After Berry, it became the voice of rebellion. His bold riffs, chord progressions, and soloing style elevated the electric guitar to a position of central importance in rock and roll music. He turned the guitar into a lead instrument, a symbol of youth and freedom, a tool for emotional expression, an icon of the new American sound. This shift paved the way for guitar legends such as Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, Eddie Van Halen, and Keith Richards. A pioneer of youth culture, Chuck Berry's music captured something that few artists of his time addressed openly: teenage identity. His songs weren't about adult struggles but about school dances, cars, young love, and social freedom. For example, School Days immortalized the boredom of class and the thrill of rock after the bell. Sweet Little 16 portrayed a young concertgoer swept up in excitement. No Particular Place to Go humorously depicted the joys of cruising in a car. Berry became one of the first musicians to understand and reflect the desires, attitudes, and emotions of young people, helping create the idea of a youth-driven popular culture. A businessman and a trailblazer, Berry was known for being fiercely protective of his work. At a time when many black artists were exploited by record companies, Berry insisted on retaining rights to his songs, negotiating his own performance fees, managing his musical publishing, ensuring he received royalties for his compositions. This level of control was rare for musicians of his era, especially African American performers. Berry's business acumen set standards for future artists seeking financial independence. Collaborations and relationships with other artists. While Berry often worked independently, his influence permeated collaborations and tributes. The Rolling Stones repeatedly covered his songs and performed with him on stage. Bruce Springsteen once backed Berry at a concert, without rehearsal, highlighting how standard Berry's music had become for rock musicians. Johnny Johnson, his longtime pianist, played an essential role in shaping the sound of Berry's early hits. The Beatles included Berry's songs in their early live sets and studio sessions. These connections underscore Berry's central role in the global music community. Berry in film, television, and popular media. Chuck Berry's songs and persona appeared in numerous films and TV shows, helping cement his place in popular culture. Notable examples include Johnny B. Goode, featured prominently in Back to the Future, 1985, introducing the song to new generations. You Never Can Tell was revived memorably in Pulp Fiction, 1994, during the iconic dance scene. Berry appeared in the documentary Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll, 1987, directed by Taylor Hackford and produced by Keith Richards. These appearances extended the reach of his music beyond radio and albums. Philosophy, personality, and musical approach. Berry had a distinctive personal philosophy. He believed artists should connect with the stories of ordinary people. He valued clarity and rhythm in songwriting. He insisted that a good song should be instantly recognizable. Berry was known for being bold, humorous, occasionally stubborn, and always committed to his craft. He often performed with local bands in each city he visited, challenging them to match his tempo and energy. Final years and ongoing cultural importance. Even well into his 80s, Berry continued to perform monthly shows at Blueberry Hill in St. Louis. His final album, Chuck, 2017, was a heartfelt farewell that featured new music, performances from his children, and reflections on his lifelong musical journey. Today, Berry's legacy continues through musicians who cite him as an inspiration. Films, documentaries, and biographical studies. Tribute concerts and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame exhibits the continued global popularity of his songs. Few artists can claim such a lasting and universal impact. Conclusion. Chuck Berry's enduring influence. Chuck Berry is not just a pioneer, he is a cornerstone of modern music. His work embodies the spirit of innovation, rebellion, and creativity that defines rock and roll. His riffs are still studied by guitarists, his lyrics analyzed by scholars, and his performances admired by fans around the world. Berry's music is timeless, his legacy unshakable, and his influence immeasurable. For decades to come, the world will continue to dance, laugh, and celebrate the sound he helped create. Further exploration of Chuck Berry's life and legacy. The early landscape of American music, and Berry's arrival. When Chuck Berry emerged in the mid-1950s, American popular music was in a state of transformation. Rhythm and blues was vibrant but largely categorized as race music, while country and western appealed to rural white audiences. Teenagers were becoming a powerful cultural force, but there was no unified soundtrack for their identity. Berry arrived at precisely the right moment. His music blended rhythm and blues, grit, country, storytelling, jazz-influenced phrasing, boogie-woogie, piano patterns, electric guitar, bravado. This fusion created a universal sound that transcended racial and class boundaries. His arrival accelerated the merging of black and white musical traditions into what the world would soon call rock and roll. His role at Chess Records. Berry worked closely with Leonard and Phil Chess, who recognized his ability to appeal to diverse audiences. Berry quickly became one of the label's most important artists. Key aspects of Berry's time at Chess include creative freedom to write original material, collaboration with extraordinary musicians such as Johnny Johnson, piano, Willie Dixon, bass, and Fred Below, drums. The establishment of a polished, energetic sound that became synonymous with early rock chess records would later be home to blues giants like Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf. But Berry's success helped solidify the label's role in shaping modern music. Berry's lyrics, a literary analysis. While many rock pioneers focused primarily on the beat, Chuck Berry treated his lyrics with poetic care. His writing features narrative storytelling, Memphis, Tennessee playful humor, too much monkey business, social observations, brown-eyed handsome man, youth culture optimism, almost grown, romantic charm, you never can tell. Berry's vocabulary stood out. He used vivid imagery, internal rhymes, and alliteration, techniques not commonly found in popular music at the time. An example from Johnny Be Good. Maybe someday your name will be in lights, saying, Johnny be good tonight. This simple yet powerful phrase embodies ambition, hope, and the American dream. The Chuck Berry sound. Technical musical elements. Berry's sound was not accidental, it was carefully crafted. Key components of his musical architecture include double-stop guitar riffs. His technique of playing two notes simultaneously created a bright, ringing tone that defined early rock guitar. Driving backbeat. His songs emphasized the second and fourth beats, creating irresistible rhythm and danceability. Blending lead and rhythm guitar. Berry often alternated between riffing and chording within the same song, giving his recordings a rich, full sound. Story-driven solos. His solos weren't just flourishes, they reflected the melodic themes of the song, making them memorable and singable. Racism, segregation, and touring. In the 1950s, touring as a black artist in a segregated America posed enormous challenges. Berry encountered segregated audiences, discriminatory laws, limited access to hotels and restaurants, hostile environments in certain regions. Despite these barriers, Berry became one of the first musicians whose audiences were racially mixed, a remarkable achievement during the civil rights era. Legal troubles and their impact. Berry faced several legal battles throughout his life, the most significant occurring in the early 1960s when he was charged under the Mann Act. Although the case remains controversial and historians continue to debate aspects of the trial, Berry served prison time. The impact included a temporary halt to his career, a shift in public perception, a reminder of the racial biases prevalent in the American legal system. Yet Berry returned from prison with renewed determination, producing hits like Nadine, No Particular Place to Go, and You Never Can Tell. Global influence and international tours. Berry's fame wasn't limited to the United States. His music resonated worldwide, especially in the United Kingdom, where bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones studied his songs note for note. Europe, where rock and roll was spreading rapidly. Japan, where Berry's guitar-driven sound inspired early rock scenes. International audiences viewed Berry not only as a musician but as a symbol of the new American cultural wave. Berry's role in shaping pop culture. Berry's influence spread far beyond music. Fashion. His sharp suits and stage outfits inspired early rock aesthetics. Dance. His rhythms shaped dance crazes. Film. His music became synonymous with cinematic depictions of youthful rebellion. Technology. Berry was among the first to popularize the electric guitar as a cultural icon. The Back to the Future use of Johnny Be Good introduced Berry to an entirely new generation, proving the timelessness of his sound. Berry's personality. Private, complex, and independent. Berry was known for being reserved off stage, sometimes difficult to work with, and fiercely protective of his independence. He preferred to travel alone, perform with pickup bands, maintain control over financial arrangements, avoid excessive promotion. This made him mysterious to many fans and journalists, but it also contributed to his mythic status. Reflections from peers and critics. Musicians and critics often describe Berry with reverence. Keith Richards, Chuck Berry's music is the dictionary of rock and roll. Bruce Springsteen, he was the father of us all. Carl Sagan, on including Berry's music on the Voyager Golden Record. There is no better representation of American music. These tributes highlight the breadth of Berry's impact. The broader cultural legacy. Berry's influence continues in guitar-driven pop and rock today. Modern country artists inspired by his storytelling R&B, which still borrows his rhythmic style. Hip-hop, which echoes his fast-paced lyrical flow. Berry helped create a global musical language. Nearly every rock musician, knowingly or not, builds upon his innovations. An even deeper examination of Chuck Berry's impact and personal history. Family background and early influences. Chuck Berry grew up in a tight-knit, middle-class African-American family in St. Louis, a rarity at the time. His parents, both industrious and community-minded, instilled in him strong values and a sense of cultural identity. His father, Henry Berry, was a contractor and deacon. His mother, Martha Berry, was a trained schoolteacher. This stable environment allowed Berry to develop confidence and curiosity. His hometown, filled with jazz clubs, R&B venues, and vibrant nightlife, provided fertile ground for his artistic development. He listened to Nat King Cole, Louis Jordan, and Muddy Waters, shaping his understanding of musical storytelling and performance. The early gigs and the birth of his style. In the early 1950s, Berry performed with local bands around St. Louis. His partnership with pianist Johnny Johnson became one of the most important musical relationships of his life. Their interplay, Berry's sharp guitar phrases and Johnson's rolling piano lines, helped define the signature sound of his hits. Berry's style blended country guitar twang, blues bends, and phrasing, jazz chords, and structure up-tempo boogie rhythms. This combination created something fresh, exciting, and universally appealing. The innovation of Maybelline, one of Berry's greatest breakthroughs, was transforming the country song, Ida Red, into the rock and roll anthem, Maybelline. By speeding up the tempo, adding electrified rhythm guitar, and injecting youthful energy, he created what many consider one of the first true rock songs. Maybelline introduced Berry's hallmark characteristics: relatable storytelling, fast-paced rhythm, crossover appeal, stylish guitar leads. Its widespread success was a signal that Berry was ushering in a new musical era. The automobile, a symbol in Berry's lyrics. Cars appear in many of Berry's songs.
Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.